Hey everybody, I am Elizabeth and I just wanted to welcome you back to another Kilby Life video. I wanted to give you an update of where I'm at with my elimination diet for skin issues, but first I want to say thank you to Element for sponsoring this video. If you recall, I have a couple videos out about it, but I recently have had some issues with my skin, getting some rashes on it that I kind of think and assume is food related. So I did a 3-week elimination diet, started adding food back in, trying to really pay attention to what was triggering responses in my skin, and kind of narrowed it down to dairy and eggs. My dermatologist and my primary care both said we can treat the symptoms, but we can't really figure out what the problem is. So they sent me off to an allergist. I got to see her last week, and she really listened to what I had to say. I was appreciative of that. And it was kind of funny because she asked me about what was going on and gave me a chance to explain it to her. And so I told her what I did with this elimination diet. And the first question she said after I said beef, salt, and water for about 3 weeks to clear out my system, she said, well, why beef?
Beef is poison.
No, it's not beef, just...
And I thought to myself, what other food could get me all the nutrition that I need and not be something that is super reactionary to get to this point? It was just interesting. But she listened to what I had to say, and I was grateful for that. So we had a good conversation, but it started out a little like, well, what would you have had me pick, you know?
No vegan diet, no vegan powers. But
one thing I was glad for, again, we talked about this in our other videos, as I was adding things back in, I was able to add back in Element pretty quickly, which is great for me because they just came out with this chocolate medley box. It has the raspberry, chocolate chai, and mint chocolate. And this is something that I have been able to use as a treat for when I am avoiding all of the other things, and it has been really helpful. It's a science-backed formula with 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. I like them hot. It tastes like a cup of hot chocolate, and I've really enjoyed them, and they are fantastic for me even when I'm doing an elimination type diet because they do not trigger sugar cravings, and they have not triggered any sort of response because they are made up of clean ingredients, and that is exactly what I needed. Right now, if you go to drinkelement.com/Kilby, that's drinklmnt.com/KILBY, they will send you a free sample pack with any order. It contains all of their current flavors and will give you a chance to try out a lot of different options to see what you like best. What I thought was really interesting at the allergist is she said that it's probably not completely food related, which kind of makes sense because even with doing an extreme elimination diet, I wasn't seeing complete healing. I was seeing things get better, but it wasn't complete healing. And a while ago, Erin had said to me, maybe this is kind of in your head a little bit too, like maybe you're prolonging the problem, which I was not super excited to hear, but he was probably right.
when you're right, you are right.
After he said that, I tried to treat it like I would biblical fasting, right? So the idea is if you're refraining from eating or refraining from something, when that trigger comes, you spend time in prayer instead of doing whatever it is that you're fasting from. And so I was like, okay, whenever I feel like I'm going to start to itch, I'm just going to pray, say, God, you know, like you got this, take this away. Help me to have some self-control in this. And that's one thing we teach our kids is to put their hands together for self-control. And so I sit there and do that, just try to gain some control over the situation. And I did notice I was seeing more healing. And what she had said was kind of my brain is oversending itch signals, and I was damaging my skin essentially by itching it and causing buildup of cells where it was itching. And so it was kind of raised a little bit that could be healed. And so she put me on a protocol of 2 antihistamines, one that I take in the morning, one that I take in the afternoon, and a topical steroid cream just to see if we can get it gone and reset my skin. I am willing to do that for about 30 days. I don't want to stay on those things forever, but I'm willing to do that for a while to see if we can reset it and break the cycle. And then in February, I'm going back and she's going to do a patch test on my back. So she's going to take all of the like common things people react to in laundry dye and lotions and soaps and things like that, things that we put on our skin maybe without even thinking about it. She'll put a patch on my back, then I go back 48 hours later and they'll take it off and kind of read where I'm reacting. And then I go back the next day, they'll look at it again, and I'll talk to the allergist again then to see if there's something that I'm using that's triggering a reaction that maybe I'm not even aware of. She did say that certain food might make my skin appear to like dry out. And that's what I see really on my arms when I'm eating eggs, is that I'll get like these dry patches, which of course then I itch and then kind of perpetuate that cycle. So that kind of makes sense to me too, that it could be triggered by it, but the full brunt of it is not food related. I did notice that after Thanksgiving, I was having a lot of issues with my back. I had about 3 days where my back just felt itchy and miserable with like a lot of little dots on it. But then after Christmas, I didn't have any issues. Now, granted, my mom was awesome and made a lot of gluten-free things, a lot of things that I could eat that didn't have any or much dairy in them. But I was not being super careful with the foods that I was eating, and I didn't see a reaction. So I thought that was really interesting. But then recently okay, well, if I'm not going to react to these things, I've had eggs, like a keto pancake. So I'll blend up eggs, cream cheese, and some cinnamon. And sometimes I'll put some blueberries in it and cook that kind of like a pancake and eat that. And I have noticed a little bit more itching on my back after eating that for 2 days. So I don't know, but I am trying to pay attention to it. I'm trying to make sure that I am breaking the cycle of itching to make sure my skin can heal. And I am trying to be mindful of what foods I'm eating and what reactions I'm seeing without necessarily saying, okay, I cannot have any dairy, I cannot have any eggs, I cannot have any whatever. But just trying to be mindful of what's going into my body and how that's affecting me. So I don't know. We'll see. I feel like from the last video to now, I'm seeing more improvement, more healing. And I was telling a friend, I don't know if that's just because I'm all hopped up on antihistamines, but hopefully this will be a long-term solution once I can get healing and then kind of reset from there. So I will follow up again in February after we do the patch testing to see if there's anything else. But for now, we're just going to keep going as we're doing. I'm still eating ground beef and cabbage for most of my meals because I found that I like it, but I'm pretty sure that will fall apart soon. One can only eat ground beef and cabbage for, 2 months or so without it becoming routine and boring, but we'll see how it goes. I'm actually really enjoying it, so I think it tastes good and it's made my body feel good. So we will go from there, but I will follow up again soon with more information and we'll see. Thanks for sticking around for this. Peace. That was a lame ending. Thanks for watching and we'll check in again soon. That was a little bit better.